All right. Welcome to another edition of Shabbat Lounge. This is Matt
and Jake.
And Jake, yes.
No, here. Jake here.
Yes. Coming to you live, not so live, a pre-recorded event.
Pre-recordedly live.
And we're
live right now.
Yes, that's right. We appreciate you taking time to be here with us today. We're going to talk about week 15.
15, yes. So this is Talking Torah with Sabbath Lounge, where we go through the weekly Torah portions in a very high-level manner and give you just enough to wet your whistle, get you into the scriptures yourself.
Wet your whistle.
Wet your whistle.
That's right. And this one is Bo.
Which means come.
And not Bo like Dukes of Hazzard or Bo anything else.
Bo Agrius. None of that. It's none of that. It's just to come.
Yep. So come. So,
Exodus 10, we're at, through 13, verse 16. So that's where we're living.
And then once again, we've kind of talked about some of the plagues here. And this part, we're going to pick it up with the locust darkness and plague of firstborn.
Yes.
And so in Exodus 10:1 is kind of where you see the plague of the locust. But we talked about how each one of these plagues is targeted to a deity. And it also could be reflected upon different issues that people have and have had. And, because, I think it's important to remember these are our forefathers. These are, we're connected to these people. It's not just
this is our
storybook. Yeah. And it's important that we help our children understand that this is our ancestors. This is our story too.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, too, especially these later plagues, you see how they get worse and worse and worse.
Yeah.
And Pharaoh's sitting there going, man, this escalated quickly.
Yes. Yes. He is probably questioning his life choices, but I also think that his heart was so hard. His heart was so hard that, he doesn't seem to care. But it's interesting at the end of this when they go into the sea, it doesn't explicitly say that Pharaoh dies in the water. Yeah.
It's kind of something to look at.
And it does kind of make you wonder, at some point, does Pharaoh go, that God, he was the real deal. And it does make you wonder if at some level did he get it? I don't know.
Yeah. And my stance has always been, and it talks about it right in there in Romans 9, the pot for special use. It talks specifically about Pharaoh being a pot for special purpose. And once the purpose is done, Yahweh can take that special pot and say, okay, I've gotten my drink from this pot that I made specially for that, and now I can set it up here with all the common pots that I have left. And that kind of, to me, that's his opening for repentance, because now he's kind of in the, not that he didn't have free will before, but he's more in this free will range of acting where, okay, now you've accomplished the purpose I've designed you for. Now it's up to you to either repent or bring the smiting on yourself. Something like that.
Yeah. And it's hard to imagine if Pharaoh's heart was not soft after that 10th plague, then he is just a monster, and there's no hope for
possible.
That. Yeah.
It's possible.
Yeah, it is possible. Maybe one day we can ask these questions. And the locust represents chaos, which is kind of interesting. And don't we have something about chaos in part of the United States?
No.
Maybe on the dollar?
No, things are good out there.
Things are good. But doesn't it say something on the dollar about chaos?
I don't know.
Order out of chaos?
Maybe.
So, there's...
Which happens in the natural... when you let things go to themselves, it just happens that way.
Order out of chaos. So, but you definitely have this chaotic thing. And then the darkness, there's only one light. Death of the firstborn, don't you think that was... Because what happened in the land of Goshen during darkness?
There was lightness in the land of Goshen.
Yeah. And so there was only one.
I wonder if you could see the light when you were in the dark. I would think not, because
because then you could see.
Then it would be light.
That's another.
It's
good
like
question.
a light bubble that you couldn't see into.
Well,
Crazy.
I hadn't thought about it like that, but that is kind of interesting. Because then because it said you couldn't see your hand in front of your face, basically a darkness that could be felt. And so that also to me implies fear. You know, I mean, can you imagine? Just think about here in the United States, if we lose electricity, the fear that would be in people, just like that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
During the day, it might be okay, but at night there would be lots of fearfulness. And, you know, there's so many things associated to darkness that's bad. You know, darkness is generally not associated ever with anything good.
Yeah. It's the unknown, right? And people are afraid of that. Now, just a funny aside, when we were younger, my brother and I and some friends of ours, we'd go into our bedroom and shut all the windows and shut the door and shut the light off. So it was like pitch black, and then we'd wrestle. And that is an interesting event.
I bet.
You don't know who's kicking who in your head, and it is fun though. Don't hurt yourselves.
Yeah. Speaking of wrestling, I watched a little bit of that last night. It was pretty ridiculous.
Oh, geez.
Oh, man. So crazy. Anyway, but this darkness is
you could feel
terrible.
The pain in this darkness when we would wrestle.
I bet you could. I bet you could. So, but you know, but we do know the Israelites were protected from the darkness,
right? And that was one of their, one of the biggest deities was sun god worship, and so taking that away from them was a big deal. Yeah,
it was a real slap in the face to Ra.
Yeah,
and so you have this painting on the door, and you definitely have wedding language here. So, Jake, how do you perceive that you've got this Passover moment with the blood and the hyssop and a doorway? How is this?
Don't make me go into detail about language? But right. So the word "come" implies you're inviting someone to join you. Come doesn't mean go away by yourself. That's the opposite, right? But come is coming is a joining together.
Well,
right?
and it's an interesting concept too, because if you do come, you also have left.
That's true. That's true.
So it's kind of this both and thing that, you know, you don't. I mean, it seems obvious, but you've leaving
left somewhere
to go somewhere.
You've gone from somewhere, right?
And so there's definitely that concept here, and I believe that, you know, we have all the language of Yeshua, and where does it say he is? He stands
at the door and knocks.
And so in essence, you have this death angel coming to each house, standing at the door and knocking. And so there's a very similar tie-in. And in this case, if you have applied the blood, what's happening in your home?
You're passing over. You're doing.
Yeah, to me, you have allowed the master. You've done the things to prepare your house.
Oh, you've already let him in, and so
you've let him in, and he's dining with you. And so, in essence, you know, did they understand all this? No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't.
It was just a method of salvation for them, but because they did these works, if you will, they were saved by grace.
Yeah.
But you know, they did invite him in. He sups with them, and this angel of death, or whatever this thing is that comes in and kills everybody, it could not come in there because he's abiding with them, and he had sealed them, which is very similar. There's so many revelation components here, and I would suggest you know, don't go study Revelation until you understand feast, until you understand the plagues. And then I think that will help you understand Revelation better.
Right.
But anyway, but this definitely, to me, clearly a wedding language piece to this.
Yeah, definitely.
And if you've ever never checked out Michael Oman and his wedding language, we suggest you do that. And we've interviewed Michael, and he went into detail about these things as well. So that's a good one to go back and check on.
The ancient Hebrew wedding model.
Yep. And so you've got this Passover, and he tells them to be prepared.
Be prepared.
So, Jake, have you ever... Go ahead.
Are you a prepper, Matt?
I have been known to be prepared.
Oh, okay.
For a few things. But would I go straight to calling myself a prepper?
I mean, but
I like to be prepared.
If you're homesteading, you're kind of a prepper, right?
Yes, kind of.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't have go bags, and I don't have things cached in secret, because I've known some people that would tell you their plan of how they have this piece of land here.
It's good to tell you that plan too.
Yeah, that's what I've always thought too. I'm like, why are you telling me this? Now I know where to go.
Yeah,
thank you.
No, exactly.
So anyway,
I'm
not on that level. No.
Yeah,
I do feel like it's important to be prepared, but I also feel like Yahuwah is going to give me what I need.
Right. Yeah, just like these guys.
But I should be wise.
These guys were handed the keys to their success.
Did they have to prepare?
I mean, not really. They
did a little bit. Though.
A little bit. Yeah.
They had to follow these rules,
and they had to bring a shirt in which to carry their pot in.
They had to kill something, you know. And
They had to make sure they were fed up. They were not fed up. They had eaten in preparation for a long journey ahead.
So in essence, I mean, they did have to prepare. They prepared. And so there was definitely a you part in this. It wasn't all just sit back and he just plucked them out and they did nothing. It wasn't like that. Yeah. They had a you part, and it's the same thing today. We have a part. We can't just say, oh. It's like the old story where something terrible happens and they kept praying to God. And then he's like, later, well, I sent you this person and I sent you this thing and you just didn't acknowledge that I had sent this to you. I can't help that.
Yeah. And we have the benefit of hindsight where we know that, greater Exodus. So what did the first Exodus teach us? Did we learn nothing from it? Have something ready? It's going to be rough in the wilderness. Maybe have some things easy to grab that will make it a little bit easier to get through. I mean, not that Yahweh won't provide for you, but I mean, when we do Passover, we have our staff in our hand, our sandals on our feet, and our go bags on our backs because we're, preparing to be passed over, and he's going to say, okay, coast is clear. And then,
and don't you think, something that I think it is good to practice these things at Passover, and maybe we should, instead of staff in our hand, should we have a Bible? Would that be a good thing to have with you? A physical print copy, not a digital download.
Yeah.
But that's something you want to take with you.
Yeah, you want that in your go bag.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So, but anyway, there's definitely this concept of having your feet prepared, and it made me think of this. So taking up the whole armor of God that you see in Ephesians. And so I haven't seen too many comparisons between this, but if you focus on the feet for a minute, the feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace. So how could this fit in there, Jake?
So when they left peacefully. There was a lot of death that happened, but not from the Israelites. They left peacefully. Mm-hmm. They didn't rise up
their way out. It's not like they all had swords and they're like
they didn't rebel or anything like that. So they left peacefully, and their peaceful leaving was a message to them, to the people that didn't leave. And you could call that the gospel. It was a message. It was good news that they could leave.
Yeah,
they could leave.
They were free. And so if you look at these things, they do seem to fit. You've got the helmet of salvation. the breastplate of righteousness, the shield of faith, your loins girded with the truth, the sword of the Spirit, and the feet shod with preparation. So in essence, you can make an argument that they had done a version of this as they leave.
Yeah, definitely. And they were leaving as an army, Yahweh's army. And like you were saying, they had their staff, which is the poor man's sword, right? They had the sword of the Spirit, which you were saying, take a Bible with you, which is the sword. And let that be a lesson to us. I mean, when we first come into Torah, you don't know how to wave that sword, and you just you're like, I have this new sword, and you just start swinging yourself. And you're hitting everyone with it. And learn how to use your sword before you go waving it in your battles.
You kind
of want to depend on these other things until you get the handle on the sword.
Yeah, that's a good point. Anything else about this you think of?
No, I mean, they were shielded by their faith. I mean, their faith in this is going to happen the way Moses said, so I better put this blood over the door and do the things he said, or it's not
at this point, and
they would take that on faith.
Yeah, and at this point, if you were a descendant of the Hebrew nation and you didn't do this, I'm like, how dumb are you? I mean, there's something not right.
Yeah.
You've completely sold out and don't care, I guess. You just don't get it. And I don't think there were many of them that didn't.
I shouldn't imagine
that. So I think they all came. And so, all right. So that is week 15, Bo. You think of anything else there? It's exciting.
No, it's every episode is a cliffhanger at this point. I mean, the Exodus is a very exciting series of events.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it just keeps building, really. It just keeps becoming more interesting, as they go on. So, except the 40 years of wondering, then it kind of slows down a little bit for that period. It's not quite as exciting.
Yeah.
Where every day they're like, what are we going to do today? We're going to wander around in the desert some more.
We'll just follow that pillar of fire and clouds.
Yep. And so it's symbolic, just like we talked about last week. It took Moses 40 years to get the Egypt out of him, and then it also takes the people 40 years to get the Egypt out of them.
Yeah.
So, and we just ask that you work on that too, that we hope that you're joining us in this quest of trying to get Egypt out of our lives, and we hope that our children are not going to have as much Egypt to get out of their lives and be much ahead of the game compared to us.
Right.
So we appreciate you stopping by to listen to week 15 and Bo.
Yep.
And we look for more to come. We ask that you click the subscribe, click a like, and leave us a comment.
Yep. Check out the website, sabbathlounge.com.
And we appreciate you stopping by. We appreciate your time. And we know that your time is valuable. And this is Matt and Jake signing off.